All right, my next guest has a fascinating background and resume. Kendall Qualls is running for governor in the state of Minnesota, and God, they could use one. Right? There's no question. They could use one. It's Juneteenth, by the way. And he says it's time to use Juneteenth to call for a return to self-determination, family, education, entrepreneurship, and the cornerstones of lasting freedom and empowerment, not handouts and ongoing dependency from Democrats. And as a black man who grew up in Harlem in a trailer park in Oklahoma before joining the U.S. Army, he has some standing in making those observations and determinations. Kendall, welcome to the program.
Steve, thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Really appreciate you being here. So, all right, beyond all that, let's talk about the governor of Minnesota. What a disaster this guy has become, eh?
Well, I tell you, he's been able to hide a lot of this because our local media has really protected him. He went on the national stage and everyone found out that he's not the Wizard of Oz. He's really is the man behind the curtain. Yeah. And he's taken our state in such a wrong direction that everyone realizes that we need a new direction in a big way.
He's the Wizard of Odd, maybe.
Yes.
The Wizard of Odd. I have to ask you about, these horrible crimes in Minnesota here a few days ago. This appointee of both Governor Dayton and Governor Walz murders two people. The former Speaker of the House, her husband, shoots another state senator and his wife. They survive. But then there was a break-in at the house. I feel like we're not being told the whole story about that whole situation. There was a break-in at the scene of the murders after the scene had been processed and the place had been sealed, and there's still crime scene tape up, and somebody breaks into the house and searches the house, according to all reports in the last 48 hours. What's going on there?
There's a lot of weird things happening in our state in the last, I would say, last 5 years, since 2020, rioting and looting. That shooting is a catastrophe. In fact, I just got back from a candlelight vigil for the victims of that crime, Melissa and Mark Cortman. Look, I wrote a social media post that said, look, we need to use this opportunity. I don't even want to call it an opportunity. We need to use this as a pivot on how we differ politically, but how we can actually show that we can drive Minnesota forward, both for families and our businesses. And it's unfortunate. Ever since the rioting and the looting in 2020, we've ramped up the acrimony across party lines that never used to exist. We never had people protesting in someone's personal homes like we've seen with the Supreme Court justices, basically allowing rioting, looting, that's really peaceful protest. And, we saw it in LA as well. And it's time for a different type of leadership that brings something forward that's normal. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, the riots of Minneapolis and so forth in 2020 were anything but normal. And they were allowed to go on day after day. I mean, if you go to Minneapolis now, what does it look like? Have they recovered? I'm guessing from everything that I see, it's not recovered, nor will it ever be fully recovered from what happened.
Well, unfortunately, Minneapolis is a shadow of its former glory. It really is. I was just in the city, like I said, in the capital of St. Paul last night. Literally, the homeless walking around, it looked like you're in a zombie movie. It's a tragedy of what the Twin Cities were. And Steve, I'll give you this one note. In October of 2009, Forbes magazine rated 25 top cities in the country, and it rated Minneapolis #1 for best quality of life and best safest city in the nation. We're going to return that back. Once we win in November 26, we'll get our cities back and give me 24 months. We'll get it back.
So what's it going to take for you to win this? Okay, I'm going to guess. When is the election for governor? Is it next year? When's the primary? How big is the field? How much money is it going to take to win the governorship in Minnesota? Usually it takes a lot of money. Obviously, you're very well spoken. You're articulate. You've got this down. You were in the military. You've got background here. How did you end up in Minnesota, by the way, from all the places you've been?
Look, first of all, how do I end up in politics of all things? The reason I got involved in politics, I love our country, hate where it's going. I've been in the private sector my entire life. I was healthcare executive. Prior to that, I served active duty in the Army for 5 years. My father served for 25 years. And my son just got off of active duty for 5 years as a fourth generation. We love the country. And we know the narrative that's posed against it is a false narrative. And I never thought by any means when I pledged my oath to defend the Constitution against foreign and domestic, I never thought I would activate the domestic part. But here we are. And so here's the scenario. In Minnesota, one of the best states in the country. It's just absolutely beautiful state. It had the most robust, diversified economy, but it's been mismanaged for 5 years, and it's been deliberately so. People are moving out of the state, not just to Florida, Tennessee, and Texas for retirement. They're moving to Iowa and South Dakota and western Wisconsin, being pushed out, businesses and personal individuals as well. But they're being pushed out because of the tax issues, the crime, and everything else.
That's absolutely right. People need financial freedom, and they're not getting it in Minnesota where they're getting stepped on. But Iowa, South Dakota, good example.
Right.
I don't know what the policies are in Wisconsin, but a much better situation elsewhere, so it pushes people out. Look, I live in Michigan. I get it. I see the same sorts of things here with Ohio and Indiana nearby, and they, a lot of people flee to go to those states, not just Tennessee, Florida, and elsewhere. When's the primary? When's the general?
Yep. So the general election is November 26th. The primary is in August. But here's a scenario. I'm not a spring chicken by any means on this front. I've been around the corner in the political stance, but I came in second last election cycle for governor.
When you're back. All right, real quick. I've only got about 20 seconds here. Give me a website where people can find out more. I'm intrigued. Go quick.
Yep, kq4mn.com, kqformn.com. We're going to win it this time. When we lost last time, we lost everything. We have an opportunity to pick up the Senate, the governor's seat, the state Senate, and the House. We'll have our first trifecta since 1969.
Kendall Qualls, KQ4MN, KQ4MN. Sir, you come back anytime. I find your story fascinating, and you as well. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Steve.
Really appreciate it. We'll take him as governor. I'll be right back.